A sold-out show has a specific relationship between the performer and the audience that is different from every other configuration of the same elements. The audience has committed to the evening in advance. They bought the ticket. They arranged to be there. They have already invested in the expectation of what the night is going to be. The performance carries the weight of that expectation in a way that the open room does not, because the people in the sold-out room have already decided what they came for, and the job of the performance is to deliver it. This is not a constraint in the negative sense. The expectation of a sold-out room is part of the energy of it, the collective anticipation that an audience brings when it has made a commitment to a specific evening with a specific performer. It is the thing that makes the fully invested room one of the most powerful performance environments available. The audience is ready before the performer speaks. The room has already given something. In the middle of a sold-out show in the mid-2000s, at a moment roughly 45 minutes into a set that had been moving at the pace and energy level of a show in full operation, Katt Williams stopped. Not stumbled, not paused, stopped. The deliberate halt of a performer who has decided to interrupt something that is working for reasons that the audience cannot yet see. The room's response to the stop was the particular silence of a sold-out audience that is not sure what it has just witnessed. Not the silence of a room that has been brought somewhere deep and true, the silence of a room that has been interrupted while in the middle of something and is waiting to understand why. The show had been working. The rhythm had been established. The momentum had been accumulating for 45 minutes, and then it stopped. Katt Williams looked at the audience, and what he said when he finally spoke was not what any of them had prepared to hear. The 3 minutes that followed the stop were not planned. This is the quality of the moment that is most difficult to account for in the context of a sold-out show with a schedule and a venue and a production that has organized itself around the performance proceeding from its beginning to its end without significant deviation from the established form. 3 minutes is a long time in the context of a live comedy performance. It is roughly equivalent to 2 full bits, well-paced. It is the duration of a short film. It is long enough for the room to change its relationship to the performer in front of it, to move from the position of an audience that is paid to watch something to the position of people who are in a room together with someone who is being honest with them and who are responding to the honesty with their own. What developed in those 3 minutes, in the space opened by Katt Williams stopping the show and speaking directly to the room, was a quality of exchange that is rare in a sold-out performance context, because the sold-out performance context is not designed to produce it. The audience gave things back, not in the responsive laughter of a show that is working, in the specific responses of people who have been asked a genuine question and are giving a genuine answer. Voices from the house, acknowledgments from sections of the audience that the performer's specific observation had reached. The particular quality of a room that has moved from being an audience for a performance to being participants in a conversation. Katt Williams was in the middle of this, receiving what the room was giving back, acknowledging it, extending the exchange in the specific way that a comedian, who is also a genuine observer of human behavior, extends an exchange when the exchange is producing real information. The sold-out show had become, for 3 minutes, something that the sold-out show format does not usually accommodate. A room of people in actual contact with each other through the comedian who had stopped the show to make the contact possible. What Katt Williams said when he stopped has been described in several ways by the people who were in the room that night. The inevitable variation in recollection that occurs when a specific moment is recalled by many different people over the years, each of whom attended to slightly different aspects of it, and carries their version of it with some degree of personal modification. What the accounts agree on is the direction of it. He said something about the room, not about the show, not about the material he had been performing, not about himself, about the room, about the specific quality that the audience in front of him had brought to the evening, and about something he had been noticing for the past 45 minutes that he felt he needed to name before he could continue. The quality of attention. The specific way that the people in the sold-out room had been inside the show, not just watching it, not just giving it the responsive laughter that a well-working comedy set reliably produces, but something more that he had been perceiving from the stage in the particular way that performers perceive the quality of a room that is doing something special. He said, in words that the accounts reconstruct differently, but that all point toward the same thing, that the room was one of the best rooms he had performed for. Not in the general way that performers acknowledge audiences, the professional gratitude that is part of the format of live performance, and that audiences receive and correctly understand as a pleasantry, in a specific and detailed way. He named specific moments in the preceding 45 minutes when the room's response had told him something about what the material actually was. Things the room had given back to him that had shown him the material in a way he hadn't seen it before from the stage. This stopped the room in a different way than the interruption had. Not the silence of an interrupted show, the silence of an audience that is being spoken to directly and honestly and does not know how to respond to honesty at that scale, in a room that large, from a performer in the middle of a sold-out show. The show resumed. 3 minutes after the stop, the exchange reached a natural close. Not because the room had given back everything it had, or because Katt Williams had said everything the stop had opened, but because the performance and the conversation had both been served, and the moment had completed itself in the way that genuine moments complete themselves. The microphone was back at the stand. The set resumed. The momentum that had been interrupted returned with a different quality than it had carried before the stop. The rest of the evening, the remaining section of the set, the final material, the close, landed in a room that had been changed by the 3 minutes. Not in the general sense in which any good moment in a show changes the room's relationship to what follows. In the specific sense in which a room that has been spoken to directly, that has been acknowledged specifically and honestly, that has participated in something unplanned and real, brings a different quality of itself to the performance that follows. More open, more given. The particular generosity of a room that has been treated as something more than an audience. The people who were at that show have described the second half of the evening, the material that followed the 3 minutes, as some of the best work they had seen from Katt Williams. Not because the material was different from what it had been before the stop, because the room was different. Because the exchange had produced in the sold-out audience the specific quality of invested presence that a comedian earns and cannot otherwise manufacture. The quality of a room that is not just watching, but actually with the person on the stage. The sold-out show proceeded to its end. The audience went home carrying what the evening had produced. The venue was struck, and the production moved on. No recording captured the 3 minutes. It was not the kind of moment that productions build infrastructure to capture, because it was not the kind of moment that productions can anticipate. But in the accounts of the people who were there, in the specific way they describe not the material or the performance, but the feeling of being in that room when Katt Williams stopped and spoke to them directly, the 3 minutes are preserved in the form that matters most, in the memory of the people who received them and who have been carrying them since, as the unexpected gift of an evening when a comedian decided, mid-sold-out show, that the conversation was worth more than the performance.